This is Carol from the STS. This is the Adult Cardiac Surgery Database webinar for September 2nd. Thanks everybody for joining. Sorry about the issue. First on the line with me from STS, I have Leanne Jones and Addie Dolan, and then we have our IQVIA team, Jeanette Hanna, Jean, Joe Brower, Melanie, and Rhonda, and Melinda Offers on the line with us as well for STS, who manages the FAQ mailbox for us. I'll give you some quick updates on the STS. We'll run through the calendar, and then we have big announcement of the risk-adjusted dashboard will be available this month, and IQVIA is going to do our walkthrough on that. And then we have our Q&A, so submit questions using the Q&A function. The Harvest 1 2020 results are here at IQVIA, and we did some testing this week with our surgeons. We're going to start beta testing. I'll let IQVIA give you the update on that, but we are ready to get those results out to you as soon as possible. And just some STS housekeeping. The data spec, for the data spec update, we have sent everything over to the vendors. I think about half are, if not all, are or near all are about completed with certification. The training manual update for September should be posted this week. And then AQ update, don't forget to, I think we're still in a time frame for early bird registration. So if you haven't registered yet, please do register for AQO, and I'll walk through that towards the end when we get through the IQVIA presentation, and I'll show you where to find information. I'll show you where to find information on the AQO, and you could see everything that's being presented. We really do have some great presentations. Again, this is an adjunct type of learning experience to the training manual and to these webinars. The surgeons will be available giving presentations there to answer your questions, and we'll have our core group members, of course, helping with presentations, and a few other guest speakers giving their presentations. It's a little bit busy slide this time for important dates for adult cardiac just because of AQO. We have our monthly webinar today. We have a new data manager webinar. This is the will be a repeat of the series that was played, I believe, back in May or June. And this will be the webinar 1 will be on September 3rd. Webinar 2 will be on the 10th. If you're available to join. And also version 4.20 Q&A at 2 p.m. Central on both of these times. And then this Friday, Harvest 3 closes. We extended it a week because we heard from some sites who were on the Gulf states that they were without power. They were pulled to help with care. So we extended it for a week. It actually worked out pretty nicely because other people were impacted in the Midwest by WHO that were, apparently they had not reached out when this had happened, when that big windstorm went through. And if you're ever impacted at your hospital regarding a natural disaster and it's getting close to harvest close, please reach out because we're likely able to work with sites on that. We definitely don't want you to be stressed out further because of the STS during those stressful situations. And then the new data manager webinars at 2 p.m. on September 10th. September 16th is the user group call. Our AQO starts on September 29th, and adult cardiac will be on the 30th. I'll go through this AQO a little bit more in depth after IQVIA does their presentation. Direct data entry, if you're interested in direct data entry or you'd like more information for you or your administrators, please reach out to stsdb@sts.org, and we'll be happy to provide that information to you regarding direct data entry. Again, there's no additional fee in addition to joining the STS database to use direct data entry, and your data gets cleaned up as you're entering it in, so there's no need for further cleanup or more of your time as you enter your data in. It's really been, we've got a lot of great feedback from sites who have signed up to use that regarding the time saver for cleaning up data. So if you're interested, please reach out and we'll be happy to share more information. Again, that's stsdb@sts.org. And now I'm going to hand it over to Joe Brower and Melanie Bent for the IQVIA update. Thank you.
Great, thank you. So let's go ahead. We'll start with what's upcoming for our September release. And the date we currently are targeting for that is September 12th. And so these are expected to be resolved on that date. Starting with STS 3621, the VDV max data element is triggering a critical error message for records on version 4.20.2. And so VDV max and other fields that were changed in the new version to allow you to submit decimals are causing critical errors during the upload process. So we are looking into that and looking to get that resolved. For now, if you do encounter those, just be aware that we are looking into it. And once we do get it resolved, we will, again, this is targeted for September 12th. So after that date, if you had any that were fixed, then feel free to resubmit those files to get those records that had critical errors in prior to the update into the database.
Hold on a second, Joe. Sorry. The slide that we're on right now, are you on the issues? I just want to make sure that I'm on the same slide.
I am on the wrong spot in my Word document that I'm looking at, so thank you.
All right.
That is not targeted for September 12th.
We are not trying to confuse anyone. That's why I wanted to make sure.
I am so sorry. I'm looking at a document with my notes, and I'm looking at the wrong page. All right, so let's start over. So actual things that are targeted for September 12th. SES 2017, there is some data missing from the dashboard report for the last creatinine level. So we were able to identify the cause of that missing data, and that is targeted to be fixed on September 12th. STS 2143, the dashboard report, again, liver dysfunction data is not displaying correctly on that report. And so that is something that will be corrected as well. So if you're seeing invalid results or incorrect results rather for your liver dysfunction data, that is being worked on. STS 2826, endovascular cases are coming up as missing in the dashboard report, even if no aorta procedure is performed. And so that is something that we are aware of and will be correcting. STS 2388. This one, the dashboard report is checking for version 2.9 variables, even for cases that are on the older 2.81 data version. And so that will be resolved so that those are correctly categorized into their different versions. And then STS 2759. We are aware of some users experiencing a infinite loading message on your uploader page. So you log into that page and it just says loading with the spinning circle. We are aware of that issue, and like it says, we should be fixing that on the 12th. If you are experiencing that particular issue, please contact us. If you need to get data in prior to the 12th, there are workarounds we can use to update your account and hopefully get that resolved for you quicker. But if you don't have any urgent need to submit, that will be fixed, like it says, on the 12th. All right, next slide, please. All right, here's where I was talking about. So these are issues that are currently under review that we are currently looking into that do not yet have a fixed date identified. And so that is the VDV max issue I was talking about before. We are, like I said before, we are looking into it. We don't have a target date for the fix for this yet, but we are hoping to get that fixed for you as soon as possible. SCS 3613. We had, this is not something that's impacting all sites. It is something that I believe a single user had reported to us. They had submitted a value for the additional hours ventilated data element in their DAT file, but for some reason it didn't appear on their case form. So we're looking into what may have caused that or what was going on with that situation. SCS 3266. The uploader is occasionally showing a red X, even though the records are successfully uploaded. I haven't seen a lot of reports of this personally, but we do occasionally have situation where your upload is successful, your records get into the database, the DQR shows all of your warning and error messages as it should, but for whatever reason, the upload history shows a red X for those uploads. And so that is something we're looking into. Just be aware that if you do experience that, if you're not sure, feel free to reach out to us and we can verify that for you if you do encounter that situation. But yeah, when it does happen, it's just a display issue. It's just the uploader history is showing you a failure when it shouldn't. So your data gets in just fine, your reports work just fine. It just looks wrong. So we are looking into a long-term fix for that. And then the last one on this page is STS 3763. Again, this is another issue that not every site is experiencing. What's happening is some sites are getting an issue where you're getting a critical error that says record is duplicated in the file. We are working with specific sites and specific vendors to kind of look into this and see what's going on. It is something we're looking into on a case-by-case basis. So again, if this is something that you are experiencing and you haven't already, please contact us to get a ticket created for you. Because like I said, it is something that's case-by-case, where we're looking into make sure we understand what's going on and what's causing this. And so let us know if you're running into it.
And Joe,
yep.
If I can just jump in, because I actually got a little bit more information on that specific item.
Sure.
I think we were able to identify that there were approximately 13 participant sites that had encountered this specific message. I also wanted to confirm that for those records that are being flagged, those records did save to the database. So you are getting a message saying that it's duplicated in a file. We are working through that, but just wanted to confirm that those records that are being flagged, know that those are saved already to the database. We were able to look at all of those examples and saw that they were available. So we are, again, continuing to work through that, but just wanted to at least give confirmation on that piece of information.
Good. That's good news. Thank you, Melanie. All right. For the next slide. These are issues under review for the dashboard report, starting here with STS 2994. We have a situation where records where the IMA used is set to no is not correctly displaying in the dashboard report. What's happening is that essentially it's not being counted in under any category. So it looks as if there's kind of missing data there. So we are looking into that and hopefully we'll have a fix for that soon. Just also to note, as the sub-bullets there kind of say, STS 2219 and STS 2068 also pertain to the same bug. So if you had any of these three tickets, just be aware that they're all kind of the same thing. It's something we're looking into and hope to get a fix out for that as soon as possible. STS 3666, the dashboard report displaying cases that have a value entered for patient alive for the status at 30 days after surgery as missing. So like it says, you have cases, their status at 30 days was alive, but the dashboard report showing those as missing. So that's something that we are currently looking into as well. STS 3581, the discharge mortality graph at the top of the page where it has kind of the bar graphs, those are currently showing up as blank even though data is present. And so that's something we are investigating. STS 3588, the dashboard post-operative events percentage on the dashboard is not equaling up to 100%. So we are looking into that. There are, if I recall correctly, for that one, it's the dashboard report kind of breaks down all the different possible answers for the post-operative events. And if you add those up, it wasn't reaching up to 100%. So we are looking into making sure that's working correctly. And if there is any misunderstanding on that, or if there is an issue with that report, we will get that resolved. And then finally, STS 33 87. The dashboard report percentages are showing as 0%. So even if you did have cases in a given category, there are situations where for some reason it's showing 0% rather than the correct percentage value. So we're looking into that. And then the last slide for under review issues has a couple things pertaining to the missing variable report. SCS 3419, so there's an inconsistent number returning for the Social Security number data element. And so we're looking into the logic for a Social Security number as it relates to the parent variable, which is SSN known. And so we're looking at the relationship between those and making sure that that will appear correctly. We're also looking into, as part of that bug, it's showing percentages greater than 100%. I think the issue in the bug was saying it showed there were 70 out of 35 cases were showing up with that value as missing, which is obviously incorrect. So we are looking into fixing those two problems. And the last one, SCS 3727. We're looking into some missing data that may not have migrated over correctly from the DCRI. In this particular example for the user's 2018 cases, we're seeing that the COT other data is coming up as missing on the missing variable report. And we are looking to make sure that that data is certainly included prior to the harvest. So if you are seeing missing data there for that migrated data, rest assured that we are aware and we are looking into getting that added before we send anything over to DCRI. And I believe that does it for me.
Okay, I'm just going to step in here for a second before we hand it over to Melanie and Rhonda. There is a Zoom is their 800 numbers are down, so we have to use the toll number. So if we put it in the chat box, hopefully people were able to join on. I'm sure if people can't join on, they can't hear me say this, but if anybody's texting you asking you that they can't get in, let them know to use the toll numbers. It's in the chat box. I apologize for that, but our IT checked it out pretty quickly and got a response back from Zoom. So we'll work with them on this, but please use the toll numbers, and I definitely apologize for that. Also, before we go on, I made a mistake in the slide that had the AQO dates. Adult cardiac is on the 1st. So I'm going to update that slide real quick here right now. You see, I got excited. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, so maybe I won't update it right now. But adult cardiac is on October 1st. General thoracic is on September 30th. So please note that this is, hopefully this is going to be a little bit clearer. I apologize for that. Okay, now we can go over to Melanie and Rhonda. Go ahead, Leanne.
I was going to say, Casey had put a message in the chat box just to let everyone know that the toll numbers are working. So just to share that bit of information as well. So the toll numbers are working and she was able to get in.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Sorry about that, everybody. And sorry, Melanie and Rhonda, for interrupting your presentation.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. We want to make sure we have the right information out there. All right. So, hello, everyone. Let's talk about what's coming. And I know you all have been anxiously waiting, patiently waiting. We are to the point where we are going to be releasing the new ACSD risk-adjusted dashboard. And with that, and Carol had made a note a little bit earlier that we will be going through a period of beta testing. So we will be running through that phase, and then of course the release to the to everyone. So with this transition, we've come a long way. We're coming from a PDF report where you had a lot of information that you had to consume and try to parse through. And with that, now you're going to have the ability to work with an interactive dashboard. So we're excited to show you that new dashboard and functionality. So of course, you'll be able to review your risk-adjusted performance information that's of course similar to other participants within the STS. You'll have the comparison with the like group, and then of course being able to compare against the entire STS aggregate. What are the dashboard benefits, which I know many of you know already, is being able to quickly move through data and see information that, you know, would take you a longer period of time to be able to view within a PDF report or paper report. You also will have the capability to drill down into patient data where you did not have that information before. You're able to, within different sections of the report, drill down into the totals and see a little bit more granular level information. And then with that, corresponding graphs for those reports. You'll be able to see that information in regards to the mins and max and where your participant site stands versus the STS. And Rhonda is actually going to be giving you that demo. And then one of the things that we definitely heard from you all is the ability to be able to print the entire report in one shot, and being able to have that ability to not have to go to the different sections of the report to print, but being able to do a one-shot print, and you will have that ability within this report. The other thing that I also wanted to call out is that there is additional information that will basically be a companion guide. That report interpretation information will be available, and that will be posted within the library section of the platform. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Let's just take a couple, look at what you're going to see. Just wanted to add these screenshots so you're able to at least have reference. And then of course, we'll go into the demo. So when you navigate to this new report, this is going to be your landing page, your report interface, where you'll have the different components of the report available, and each one of the sections will be easily accessible. If you wanted to review your cabbage section, underneath your quality ratings, you would just select that button and it will generate that report. And so you'll see that for each of these available sections. And then again, I made reference in regards to being able to print this entire report in one shot. You'll see that there is a button in the upper right where it says export report. So it's just one click for you and it will generate that PDF report. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And just to give you a view of what you will see in some of the reports is this. So for example, we have the cabbage composite quality rating. You'll see that you'll have tabular information where it will give you the different domains, the ratings, the participant score, the confidence intervals, and then of course the comparisons against the STS. So you'll have that. In addition to seeing this tabular level for the report, you'll have a graph view. So we'll be able to show you where you stand in regards to the black line in this example here, the participant line that you see there, and then you'll see that there is a dotted red line. We are still working with some of the graphics within the actual graphs, but right now this is basically your indicators to let you know participant versus the STS. Let's go to the next slide. And before we get to the demo, just wanted to show this in regards to you will have the drill down capability. So you'll see that this is the composite rating, quality rating, and this is the detail level that you're able to select the count for the respective section, and it will give you the drill down patient list that's associated with that selected item. So just wanted to show you that you'll be able to have that capability. I think this is the last slide with screenshots. And at this point, I'll go ahead and turn it over to my colleague, Rhonda Murphy, to go ahead and do the demo. Okay, Rhonda, you ready?
Yep, thank you, Melanie. I am selecting the screen share now. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep. And can you do me one favor just so that we can see, like they can see the navigation of how they got to, how to navigate to the report?
Yep, I can start there. So once you log into the application, you will enter on your landing page and then navigate over to the operational reports using this navigation here in the left panel. Once you're on the operational reports page, you'll see this ACSD risk-adjusted dashboard report, and clicking the arrow to expand that area, you'll see the link for the new risk-adjusted dashboard report. And then there's a little note here about what that tells you what this report will, the information that it's going to provide to you. And so I'll click that link now. And then once you get into this page, you'll have the option to select which harvest period you want to look at. This is a demo environment and I only have this one available to me, so I will select that one and apply the parameters. And it does take just a minute to pull together all of the information that is within each of these reports. So, you know, you'll see the little spinner that lets you know everything is loading. And then once everything loads, that goes away and you're now on that screen that Melanie showed us in the slide. And so each of these represents a button to the different report in the different areas that we're used to seeing in that big paper report. And scrolling down takes you to see the full list of risk-adjusted variable reports here. There is that export report button right here that I'll show you a quick example of what that export will look like. The button right now is under construction still, so I do have a sample though of what that would be like. So we'll get to that after we look here. So let's just start with a report into the quality ratings report. Clicking on the button takes us to that report. And once we're in the report, we have two sections: the tabular display of the different values, STS compared to the participant, and then also that star rating. Scrolling down takes us to that graphical representation of the information where we can quickly see where our score fell relative to the STS comparison score, and then how we fell within the confidence interval. And there's a zoom slider here because the ranges of information across the different domains can be pretty drastic, and we're trying to compare them all in one graph. So if you wanted to zoom in on a certain area because you want to see that score, you can, using the slider, do that, and it expands that area, and now I can better see how I really fell in this confidence interval range and how I compare to that STS score. And I will also highlight that any adjustments that we make on screen like this, when we go back to our home button and we click that export report button, that's how your graph will be exported. So if you want to have that more zoomed view, come in, adjust your report, and then export it, and you will have it that way in your export. Clicking this button up here is our home button, and that will always take us back to our home page here. And that button is on each report, and it does take you back to the screen. Our details report here shows us our that tabular display of information that we had in our paper reports. And like Melanie highlighted, the benefit of this electronic dashboard gives us the ability to drill down. And so clicking a row in the report, again, this is a test environment, so we may not see the drill downs. It doesn't look like it's appearing here. But what would happen is clicking this row would then activate the patient details for that row. And scrolling down, you would see those details here. Again, as I noted on the last tab, if I click and activate something and it's being displayed in the report, if I am on that home tab, if I'm on the home screen and I click export report, that information will get exported. So just be a little sensitive to that if there's patient information and exporting PHI. If you do accidentally click any rows and you want to export your report and you're not sure if you have done so, what you can do is navigate out of the report by going back to your operational reports page or just clicking this button and reapplying the parameters, and that will reset the report. So that way, if there's anything like that selected, it will reset back and you'll export without any of those details.
And this is Jeanette. I'd just like to chime in because we're getting quite a few questions in the chat. This report is not currently available. You will not see this in your operational reports area. This will be available in an upcoming release. So please do not be concerned if you do not see this link available right now. We are, as both Melanie and Rhonda mentioned, we are going through a review period with some beta testers and want to make sure we have their buy-in, that this is meeting, you know, the group's expectations before this releases. So our original target for releasing this was September 12th, but there is the potential for some movement there due to the feedback from the beta tester community, as well as some dependencies on some of the DCRI analysis. So we will be confirming exactly when these reports will be available, and there will be a notification posted, but they are not available right now.
Thank you, Jeanette. So we've reviewed a report under the quality ratings and the quality rating details. Coming over here to this rating trend tab, this is the report that is like our star report. This one is under construction and we're still working on producing those stars. So pay no attention to the asterisks, but this will be that report that would by Harvest give us our star rating by domain. And now coming out over here under our NQF reporting process and outcome measures, again, this tabular view of our information up top, and then when I go down below, I see that graphical display where I can quickly see how I compared to the STS score and where I fell within the confidence interval. The light blue represents the min and max ranges, so you can also see how you compare within those ranges. These tabs here under the NQF have the ability for patient drill down, and the way you would activate those details is using this button here. So I click see details, and that would bring up that list, and clicking back to graphs would take me back to that the tabular and graphical display. And that applies to the reports that fall under that NQF reporting category. Then down here under our risk adjusted variables, we have that tabular display of data where we're looking at the 3 years and we're comparing to STS and the like group. Scrolling down here is how it will take you to see that full list of domains and categories. And again, I have the option to see the details, and clicking that button would open up the details of that report, and then you have the ability to navigate back here. Clicking the home button, again, will take me home. And as Melanie was mentioning, there is the ability to print all of the reports captured here by clicking this export report button. And I want to quickly show an example of what that would look like. We're still working on the views that come out from this report. So what you see right now may not be the actual final result once we go live, but just wanted to give you a quick view. Our reports are, when clicking that export report would produce a PDF that, again, you have your tabular, graphical, and then our tabular reports. And as I mentioned, had I clicked a row here, those details would be below, so something to be mindful of. But that one button would give us every page within the risk-adjusted dashboard. And so scrolling here, I can see all of the information that I was viewing within this report here. And clicking export report would, if I'm using Chrome, so it's a click and then that report gets generated. And in Chrome, it displays here. If you're in IE, you'd get that download dialog box that pops up, but what's produced is a PDF of that information.
Rhonda, this is
yeah.
Melanie. I'll just jump in real quick.
Sure.
Also, just to notify everyone, this is a test site that we're currently using. This is not a real participant. So I know you see a participant ID there. This is our test. If you take a look at the URL, this is our test environment. And just so that everyone is aware that we're not reviewing real results at this point, all test.
Yes, thank you, Melanie. Sorry, I should have mentioned that at the beginning of this. This is our test environment.
And that's also why we don't have the patient level drill downs available to show you here, because the real harvest data set, which of course does have your patient level details, those are real patients. And we would never present that to all of you on a call like this. So we appreciate your understanding in sort of how there's certain areas that we can't show you exactly what it'll look like for you, because we're being conscious of patient data privacy protections.
Yep, thank you, Jeanette. That's really all that we had to demo within the reports today. Unless there's a specific tab, Melanie, was there something that I didn't call out that I should, or?
No, I think we went through at a high level, at least to give the look and the feel of how to navigate through the report, how to print the report. We will be providing more information related to just documentation that you're able to go back to and refer to. And you know, at this point, we just wanted to let you know that it is finally here. You know, we know, and we've been hearing the questions of when are the reports coming. So they're coming soon, and now you can at least see that you have this report that you'll be able to interact with soon. So thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you, Melanie, Rhonda, and Jeanette. I have a quick question. Will there be a separate benchmarked dashboard, and if so, when will that be available?
We'll need to just come back to the current deliverables that we have. Right now, the information in regards to looking at a static STS, I believe at a specific time frame, that's not available in the non-analyzed. That does get updated in that dashboard, but we will have to come back to align on when that that piece of functionality would be available.
Okay, great, thank you. So I think that IQVIA, did you have anything else to to go over on this, or are we good to kind of finish up and then go to questions, because we have quite a few in there?
I think we're ready to move on to the next, I think, to wrap it up so we can get to questions.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Okay, so this is the IQVIA support plan, and we're asking that you please include your participant ID number in all communications with STS and IQVIA. This way we know who we're talking to and what site we're referring to, because sometimes we have users who are at multiple sites and it can get confusing. So this really helps us make sure that we're responding correctly to you. The PID for adult is a 5-digit number and will either start with a 1 or a 3. So make sure you include that. And if you have questions or you're not sure what your PID is, reach out and we'll be happy to help you with that. And the national database webpage, the STS tech support at IQVIA.com, and the database feedback form are all ways that you can communicate with us. In addition, you could reach out to me at ccrone@sts.org regarding adult cardiac database or any issue you're having with the databases. And the operational questions, go to stsdb@sts.org. Operational questions are things like you want to add somebody or remove somebody from your account, and we would refer you then to the participant contact form, but you can also reach out to stsdb@sts.org for those types of questions. And I hope everybody has a happy and safe Labor Day. And then we're going to go over to the Q&A. But first I want to show where the AQO information is at and kind of walk through that briefly. Let me minimize the screen here. Hold on one second. Sorry, everybody. And I apologize for the technical issues earlier. I hope folks joined on, and if you missed something, I'm glad that presentation was towards the end. If you missed something and you'd like more information, feel free to reach out to me and I'll provide that to you. We should have this posted by the end of the week. So you should be able to listen to it as well, the first 15 or 20 minutes, whatever time you had missed on this. So this is the sts.org page, and for the AQO information, you're going to go under registries and the STS National Database. Scroll down just a little bit and you'll come to the Advances in Quality and Outcomes of Data Managers meeting. If you have a difficult time finding this, feel free to reach out. Here's some information on it. It's the 29th through October 2nd. Early bird rates run through September 7th. So these rates are really great at $75 for the adult cardiac session, $150 for all of the sessions. And let me see here. I'm sorry, that's the member rate. It's $100 for non-members. So members, that's if you're an STS member. Non-members, you would pay the $100 or $200 for all of the meetings. After September 7th, that price doubles. For adult cardiac, I just want to show you, I apologize, it is on Thursday, October 1st. I'm not sure why I said Wednesday the 30th. Adult is on October 1st. And I just want to show the sessions that are offered. We will have pre-recorded and recorded sessions. We'll have pre-recorded and live sessions. I got myself all flustered. Sorry, guys. We will have pre-recorded and live sessions. The live sessions, some of them will be taped ahead of time, but there will be live Q&A afterwards with the surgeon, and if there's a surgeon and or data manager who's presenting. We will be offering CEs. I don't know if we have the CEs available back from Core Excel yet as to what we will be offering, but we offer CEs for the whole program. You'll need to watch the pre-recorded and the live sessions to get those CEs. The live sessions, Dr. Whitman and Melinda will be doing hemodynamics and echo. And also a capturing of the deteriorating patient. This case that they're doing here, they're still working on their slides, so we don't have any handouts to share ahead of time, but it's going to be a really interesting case regarding a TAVR patient gone bad who converts over to SAVR. And I highly, if you have the funds and your hospital will support you in joining these presentations that are being provided live are really going to help you with your abstraction. Again, these are adjunct to what's provided in the training manual and these webinars. The hemodynamic and echo section, again, the hemodynamic and echo are probably two of the worst areas that we have audited, and that's related to timing issues or folks not capturing the correct results in these areas. Or on echoes, if we're looking at EF, sometimes they are capturing the highest or the lowest instead of the mean, which goes against what the training manual says it should be the mean. So Dr. Whitman and Melinda will be going over the hemodynamic and echo section. We will have an aortic valve, aortic root arch procedure abstraction with Dr. Kim, Dr. Desai, and Nancy Honeycutt from our core group. Another great presentation with two leaders in the aorta surgery field. Incidence and spacing, this is a good one when you're trying to figure out what to be coding for occurrence of surgery. Is it the first time re-op or first procedure? This specifically relates, we see a lot of this with the aorta cases where we don't know if this is a return to the OR or if this is actually a first procedure, and it really depends on what space they're entering to perform that procedure. Dr. Badwar will be going over the mitral valve and the Carpentier classification. But again, he'll do AFib and mazes and go over that in more detail. And Ann Greco from Texas will be going over assist devices. And then we'll have the open Q&A with what data managers want to know with our lead surgeons and Cindy, Piotr, and Melinda offer. I get to moderate, but really these presenters have a great show planned for you and a lot of information to share. The pre-recorded information will be an anatomical section on the aorta and on the mitral valve. Dr. Sheehan, this group are the leaders, Dr. Sheehan being the primary leader in all of our risk models, chronic lung disease, and then Dr. Bavaria, myself and Joan Michaels will be going over the TVT registry update. Dr. Kurtai and Karen Hardy will be going over anesthesia and a cardiac medication review. These will be pre-recorded and available ahead of time to view. So I really suggest if you're available and you have the funds to join us on October 1st, please do. When you sign up, we'll be sending you information. We have other networking things planned along with this meeting, like some networking events ahead of time or some trivia sessions planned after the meeting. So if you're available, please join us. It's really a great deal to get this information for the cost and to also get CEs with this. So that's that. And now I think we're going to head over and do the Q&A, Melanie. The first question, and I keep the same first question, is can we be a direct data entry user but still be able to use the upload file function to submit data? And the answer to that question is no, it has to be one or the other. Either you're a direct data user and you enter those cases directly into IQVIA on the form that's available on the platform. Data cleanup happens immediately. There's no need for you to go into any type of data cleanup after you use the direct data entry. And the upload function is just for if you have a third-party vendor. Next question is IQVIA, the VDEV max error. Any update on that?
So that one is still under review. We did have that on the list as a issue that's still under review. So that one is specific to the 4.20 version only. So we are still looking at an update that needs to be placed into the production environment for correction.
Great.
And just some additional context, I believe many of you are aware of this, but the 4.20 procedure dates are not part of the set that are included in the current harvest deadline. So if there is anything going on related to the 4.20 version, as we mentioned it, it should not block your ability to submit for the current harvest.
Great, thanks, Jeanette. Next question from Beth. Can I clarify on shock if the patient is on an Impella placed pre-op due to low BP and cath lab, only one low BP, and subsequent BPs where the SBP was 100s to 120s, but patient clearly required Impella to treat shock, or I'm sorry, but patient clearly still required Impella to treat shock. Is this coded as shock? And Beth, I'm going to ask you to submit this to the FAQ mailbox because and Melinda, I'm sure that you'll agree on this. We probably need to review this. It may need some more information about the status of this patient before they went into surgery to code this as shock.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would probably want a little bit more information, Beth.
Yeah, if you could submit it into the FAQ, we'll get back to you pretty quickly. When I say we, I mean Melinda.
I'm trying. The queue's pretty full these days.
Yeah. Next question, will there be any educational sessions for CV surgeons for viewing IQVIA reports? I'm not sure what our plans are for that at this time. IQVIA, any thoughts on that?
So we will have educational material. I'm not sure that we have anything scheduled at this time for any specific sessions, but we will have educational material available, posted within the application and also posted on the STS website.
Great, thank you. Next question, how can I grant someone access to IQVIA reports from my site? Teresa, so they would, if you're just looking for a read-only or report-only access where they don't have access to the uploader, then you will just need to fill out a participant contact form and add that person in a read-only role. I asked if Leanne's available to put the information, the link to the participant contact form into the chat box so Teresa can access that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Next question, STS 3613 error could be because initial intubation time is no longer an STS field, so additional vent hours can't be calculated. So actually that's incorrect. The initial intubation time is no longer a field because we don't use that. We never use that for any calculations. Intubation time, the calculation for intubation time is calculated from the time of OR exit to the initial extubation time and then any additional vent hours. So that's the same for version 2.81, 2.9, and 4.2.20. So the same fields are being used, but IQVIA is looking into this, and that's a good thought, but we never used initial intubation time for any of those calculations in the past.
And actually, I have a little bit more clarification on 3613, and it's actually resolved. So we do need to update the list. So we'll make sure that we update, and we'll post it to notifications so you can go back and probably check by tomorrow to see the updated list. But for this specific instance, the value that was entered in for vent hours additional was not being uploaded. So the file had the value and the user uploaded and reviewed the case form. It did not show. But after our support team reviewed this, worked with the user, it looks like they were able to see that the form was updated with the value. So this is no longer an issue. It was specific to the value not appearing in the case form.
Okay, thank you so much, Melanie.
Yep, you're welcome.
Next question, and I'm just wondering, I know we got a little bit of a late start here because of the technical issues. I'm happy to stay on and answer questions for about 15 or 20 minutes just to get through some of these. If anybody's able to stay on with me, you're welcome to. Otherwise, I can fly solo and give out wrong answers. Hopefully not, but
I can do 10. I can do 10 more with you.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Great. Sequence 2100 version 4.2 op-ap when simultaneous incisions are made for maze, port, and bivats, which is used as initial approach. I'm not sure I understand that question. Susan, you may want to... Oh, go ahead.
I think I understand it. So it sounds to me, and this is what I think, that there's several approaches in the same procedure. So by definition, we're supposed to capture the initial operative approach, if that helps, Susan.
Yeah, that helps. That helps me. Thanks, Melinda. Next question, with the duplicate file, I was not given that this was taken care of for me since it was a tier 3.
I'm not clear on exactly if it's related to the message that you may have received that said that the record was duplicated in the file. That is still outstanding. We still have that as an item that we're reviewing, but I wanted to confirm that the record that is being flagged as duplicate or duplicated in your file, that record has saved successfully to the database. So I'm thinking that's what you were maybe referring to. If not, please put another comment so we know specifically what you're referring to.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Melanie. Which vendors are having issues as described by STS 3763? And I don't know that we share that information specifically.
No, and it's not. I think we put a comment saying we're working with vendors because they reached out to us, but it is not a vendor specific issue. It is not a vendor. They received calls and we're just coordinating with them so that they get the information that they needed regarding that issue. And again, I think that's related to the record being duplicated in a file. I'm trying to pull that up just to confirm. So 3763, I believe, is the same. Just confirm that. Yeah, it is not, just to make it clear, it is not a vendor specific issue. We're working with vendors because they contacted us to basically be able to also field questions on their side.
Great.
And again, not impacting all. Let me also make that clear. We've identified, I want to say it's probably 11 specific sites that have seen this specific error. So it's not impacting all users with this instance.
Great, thank you. Next question, my VDV max error is occurring in 2.9 version for Harvest 3 submission. I submitted that same valve in other harvests and did not get that error. I got an email to round up, you can't change the device number. So VDV max is the maximum aortic jet velocity. We should not be rounding numbers at all. That's a specific instruction from the statisticians at DCRI. So if
it is defined as an integer in the data spec?
Yes. And if they're sending a decimal, that's when you're running into an error if it's dealing with the 2.9 version.
Right, and that is correct in 2.9.
Yeah, so they just have to enter in a whole number, but it should not be. So if it's 2.9, just type in 2. Do not round the numbers. Do not round the numbers according to the statisticians at DCRI. So we'll clarify that with support if that was the guidance provided. We do not round numbers for the database. Next question, will all of these IQVIA fixes be put in place before the system calculates our star rating? The internal memory issue could have a bearing on our score. So I can chime in here first and hand it over to IQVIA. IQVIA is not changing any of your data. It's whatever you're submitting into IQVIA is what's going into the analysis at DCRI. So you're safe there, but I'll let IQVIA further explain that.
Right. So the information that is being uploaded is not changed. The information that you're seeing on the report, the calculation is not, the logic on displaying that response is not showing you the expected response. So the information that you're passing is correct. It is not that it's being changed. So it's not going to impact your harvest information that's going to DCRI.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Next question, are the STS 2994 or whatever number referenced Stringos talk ticket numbers or sequence numbers? Those are ticket numbers, not sequence numbers. Are all of the IQVIA issues related to 4.20 or prior?
It's a mix. So we have issues that that were listed out that related specifically to 2.9. I thought I saw also for 2.81 and 4.20.
On the reports primarily.
On the reports. Correct, on the reports.
So we don't have any issues that are blocking submissions of 2.8 or 2.9 upload submissions. So please do proceed with your harvest submissions in the uploader interface. We are working on resolving some discrepancies for what those values we're receiving are displaying in the reports.
Great, thank you. I have been using the dashboard to try to clean my data for this harvest. There are so many things wrong with it, so how can we be sure we have gotten everything cleaned up, especially the 30-day mortality? Are we going to be held accountable for unknowns for 30-day mortality? So I'm going to take this first part of this, and I'll hand it back over to you, Melanie, for more information. Your mortalities you can be checking in your vendor software, and you should be checking those before you even submit them into IQVIA to know that you do not have unknowns or that your unknowns are truly unknowns. And that's part of your site cleanup before you even submit it into analysis. And I'll hand it over to Melanie. I think it's important that, you know, we don't want you just to go through your data and put everybody as an unknown and then only check enough patients so you miss the 2%, you don't go over the 2% threshold. We want mortality, 30-day mortality status on everybody, and an unknown 30-day mortality status should be a very rare event for anybody. And I know that sites, you know, in Texas who may see patients from Mexico, or Arizona who see patients from Mexico, or on the northern states who see patients from Canada, they might have a difficult time with follow-up, or if they're international patients. But we really need to do our best to get that 30-day mortality. So you shouldn't be depending on IQVIA dashboard to know if your patients are dead or alive at 30 days. That should be stuff that's done before you even submit your data. So I'll hand it over to IQVIA for the rest of the answer.
Yep. And specifically with that issue, it is related to the dashboard. We are asking you to review the missing variable report. So again, when you think about the workflow of when you're doing your data cleanup, you start off, of course, with your data submission through the uploader. You can review that submission, review those errors, warnings, criticals if you encounter any at that level. The next step in your data cleanup processing is to review the missing variable report. That will give you the specific information related to your mortality fields, and the unknowns are calculated within that report as also missing. So you'll be able to see that information there to continue with your cleanup. Another tool that you have to be able to review your entire data set by surgical time frame is the harvest summary report. The harvest summary report, you can put in a specific date range. It's not dependent on your submission. It's going to look at all of your available records, and you can review all of the related errors and warnings in that report. Then the dashboard, look at that as your holistic view of your data within the different sections of the data collection form, because it basically follows that same format. So really that's at the end of your processing. So really when it's time to look at the cleanup efforts that you are doing, start off with primarily, I would think for your specific example, Linda, is the missing variable report. That will give you the information that you need.
Great, thanks, Melanie. And a couple questions here regarding vent hours, and I think, do we need to clarify that that issue wasn't happening for everybody? It was just
wasn't. It was just that site, and in this instance, and with it not appearing, it was the value that was being sent in the uploaded file. That value was not saving to the patient record. So again, that issue is no longer an issue. It was specific to that site where they did not see the value appear, but they worked with our support team, and that has been resolved. The value is in the actual case form.
Okay, and another site is saying that they're having that same issue and they've been working with their vendor. Should they be working with IQVIA as well?
Yes, I mean, if you verify, because in this instance, when we were troubleshooting with this site, we saw within their DAT file that they had the value. So definitely something was happening where the communication was not occurring. So if you see, if Lumedix has confirmed that they exported the value and it should be available, definitely reach out to our support team so we can go ahead and take a look at what's happening.
Great, thank you. I do not see intra-op blood products in the dashboard. So right now what's on this dashboard is the risk-adjusted outcomes, and it sounds like we'll have another dashboard coming later that has your, but that has static benchmark data for things that are not included in the risk models, like blood products or.
So they're not talking about the non-analyzed dashboard, is that correct? Just wanted to make sure since I only see.
I believe so. Michelle, if you'd like
Okay.
to clarify that, thank you. Will there be a similar bar plot quick look for the star ratings for each procedure type with percentile markings as compared to prior reports? And I think that's what you had showed. That's what Rhonda had shown.
Yes, with the percentile markings to show the comparison of the participant versus the STS, I believe. Yeah, and if you want to go back maybe 2 slides, I think we have an example right here on the graph. Yeah, we have the comparison. I don't know if this is the report.
Yeah, this is the report. And when you hover over it, it will show you, it'll show you the STS, it'll show you your number, and then it'll show you the confidence intervals. Where the number, I believe, if you hover that, will it show you what the confidence intervals numbers are?
I believe so. All of these are now confidence interval. Hold on. Rhonda, you may have to chime in on this one because I can't remember. I'd have to log in. I'm not sure. She may have had to drop.
Okay.
But we will confirm.
Okay, yeah, because Karen Hardy then, all right, sounds good. Who will have access to the risk-adjusted dashboard report? Will it still be one person per facility? No, we're able to have access for the folks at your facility as it's listed on your participant contact form. I believe that everybody who has access, I'm not sure of a role that doesn't have access to the outcomes report, but I'm not 100% positive on that. Go find more information. Leanne put a link in for the participant contact form, and there's another document on that link that if you scroll down on the page, you'll see it'll say what access is granted for each role. Next question. I contacted IQVIA last Wednesday about an issue with the missing variable report. She provided her case number, and I guess somebody can be reaching out to you from IQVIA to check into.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, and actually, it's funny. I actually saw this issue come through. So someone will be contacting you. I think it's Alana regarding this. Yeah, we're seeing a discrepancy within the results that you're seeing on that report. So someone will be reaching back to you in regards to next steps.
Okay, great. Thank you. This looks really great so far. Can you show all of the additional line items, percentage activated less than 6 hours, CPB averages, ICU hours, discharge to home, and all of the other various items that are important to us in analyzing the processes at our facilities? And it sounds like this is something that will be coming. Wait, you want to take this question? Okay, yeah.
Is that the benchmark? Is that what you were referring to earlier, Carol, in regards to the benchmark information? Okay, because these sections are not risk adjusted, right? I'm looking through.
No, they're not.
The averages, yeah. We would have to come back in regards to next steps of making that available.
Okay, great, thank you. In the PDF report, there was a list of raw data outcounts. And percentages for other procedures will there be a report? And so that sounds like something that we'll be looking into at IQVIA as well. Outcomes by surgeons, I believe there will be, at this time that's not available, but it should be something that's coming in one of the next phases to list by NPI or filter by NPI.
Carol, I do have to have a hard stop right here.
Okay, sorry, Melanie, thanks.
It's okay, it's okay.
I'll go through and see if there's any other questions we can answer. Maybe Melinda, if you're able to stay on, we can see if there's any other questions here we can get through.
Yeah, I can stay on.
Okay, thanks. Thanks everybody thanks Melanie for joining and for everybody else who needs to drop off. I'm just gonna scroll through for a few seconds here and see if there's anything else Melinda and I can answer. From Heidi, I'm having trouble registering for AQO. I emailed Amy. Is that the correct contact? So Heidi and Leanne, I don't know if you're able to stay.
Yep.
Would you be able to put Emily Conrad's email into the chat box for Heidi to reach out to?
Sure.
Emily can help with that as well. Amy's a great contact, or Emily. Both people can help you. When will this webinar be available to review? I hope that we have it up by the end of the week. As soon as we're off, it populates in my email and I send it over to our marketing team. So we'll try to have it up by the end of the week, if not first thing next week. I don't know, is anybody else from IQVIA still on with us? Oh, okay.
Jeanette's still here, Carol, but I'm just responding to a few items that I can clarify in chat, and then I will also need to drop.
Okay, thanks. Do you know how often they need to log in to keep their logins alive?
Every 6 months.
Okay, thank you. Do we get CEUs for attending the ACSD session at AQO? If so, how many? Yes, there are CEs available. Last year, I believe adult cardiac, we offered 16 for the presentation. I'm not sure this year. Core Excel is still getting back to us with that information, but CEUs will be available for nursing and for perfusion. I'm having difficulty registering for AQO, so please reach out to Emily. Her email's in the chat box there, and we'll be able to help you with getting logged in. Question, Melinda, we can take this one. When a patient goes home on hospice, does this count as a mortality? And for version 2.9, the answer to that is no. For version 4.20, the answer to that is yes. That patient does count as a mortality. So we will post how many CEs are available for AQO. We just don't have that information available yet. Next question. Oh, somebody's singing. Leanne. Okay, next question. Are we able to view the live AQO sessions a week later after the AQO? Yes, I believe that we will have it available. The live and recorded sessions will be available for some time after. And you will need to watch all sessions to get credit for CEs, so we will make those available afterwards. Is the STS IQVIA abstraction tool ready to be used as an independent abstraction tool? We are trying to avoid using vendors for registry. Thank you. The IQVIA direct data entry tool is available, and if you'd like more information on it, if you could please reach out to STSDB at sts.org, and I'll put that. I can find that information for you here. There you go. Reach out to STSDB at sts.org if you would like more information on direct data entry. My RN license will expire at the end of November 2020. Will CEs be available quickly after AQO so I can use them for license renewal? It depends. I'm not sure how quickly we will get them to you, but there usually isn't too much of a delay if you complete the requirements, immediately at AQO. It's possible, but I can't guarantee anything for that. When will the pre-recorded AQO presentations be available for viewing for the sessions which say they should be viewed prior to the session? I believe it, what I'm hearing from our team is that it should be available a week ahead of time, and they will be sending out information regarding all of that, so you can watch those ahead of time and when they will be available and how soon you can gain access to the Cadmium platform to watch those. If we are not available on the day of AQO, will all the lectures? Yes, all the lectures will be recorded. And can we pay to attend but be able to see a recorded version later? Yes, everything will be recorded. Even the live sessions will be recorded and everything will be available later. Where do we find our current summary of participants listed with their roles, contact information, etc. for our center? Right now, we are still working on the information exchange between IQVIA and STS for our summary of participants. Before that is available, or while that's still being worked on, reach out to STSDB at sts.org and request that information, and Jane will be able to provide it for you. Melinda, I think this one is for us. Regarding appropriate antibiotic timing, if both ceftriaxone and vanco are routinely given, the ceftriaxone would need to be initiated, hung within 60 minutes of incision time, and vanco would need to be initiated with 120. Both antibiotics would need to meet the respective time limits in order to cogest correct. Definitely the ceftriaxone. Melinda, do you have anything?
I know this is in the training manual, and I want, my gut says yes, they both have to be met, and I'm looking in right here. Yes, that is true. That is a true statement.
Thank you very much. When will the version 4.2 STS risk calculator in our vendor software become available, or is that no longer a part of the new form? The vendors are being certified, if they haven't yet, on the risk calculation. That is phase 2 of the certification process for vendors, and some, if not all, have been certified on that. If they have not yet, they will be shortly, and the vendors then will put that into their software for you to use. The risk calculator that's available online is accurate. The model hasn't changed at all, just a little bit of mapping in the background and an update on the coefficient. So the risk model is still available on the STS website and is accurate. Okay, I'm looking for other questions. Okay, this one, the 90-day sternal wound infection. Are we expected to call all these patients again in 90 days, or just look in patient records to see if there's an office visit or hospital readmission? So this is, go ahead.
You can go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to say this is an optional. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. If you choose not to follow the patients for 90 days, you just put unknown in the field.
Right, and the reason why we added this in is because it aligns with the CDC definition for sternal wound infections or deep sternal wound infections, and it is something that we may consider following patients longer after surgery in future upgrades. We just ask that you're consistent. Either follow all of your patients or mark unknown for everyone. Just be consistent in how you're capturing this field for your site. Is the STS IQVIA data entry live and completely functional? Is that the form that we can see when we clean up the errors in the case form view in IQVIA? So if you have the case form view available in IQVIA and you're a participant in direct data entry, you can enter and clean up directly in IQVIA and the IQVIA platform. If you use a third-party vendor, you will still be able to see the form, but it's not editable. You're not able to write to that form or make changes on that form. You have to go back into your vendor software, make the changes, and then re-upload it to IQVIA. So the direct data entry is available. If you're interested, email jane@stsdb@sts.org for more info. Just to clarify. Okay, so just to clarify, I was receiving critical errors for multiple records for decimal points, so I changed to a whole number, but I do not round up or down. If it's 2.6, document 2, not 3. That's correct. We don't, no rounding in the database. Will star ratings for Harvest 3 be publicly reported? No, we are not updating public reporting until 2021. And with the surgeons will be looking at the COVID data, and this is the first harvest where we've been capturing that, and they'll make further decisions regarding case inclusion or exclusion regarding those data points. So more information to come on that front, but regarding public reporting specifically, it will not be updated until 2021. So Michelle put in a question, the new dashboard will only contain risk-adjusted fields and a complete report of our data will not be available any longer. No, that's not correct. Right now what's available is the risk-adjusted fields, and we'll be talking with IQVIA regarding making these other items available, the benchmarked static data available in a different format, in a dashboard. If the patient goes home on hospice and alive 30 days, does the hospice still count as a mortality? In version 4.20.2, yes, the patient still counts as a mortality. For any patient who's discharged to hospice counts as a mortality. For version 2.9, the patients do not count as a mortality if they're still alive at 30 days. But for version 4.20, they do count as a mortality if discharged to hospice and alive at 30 days. Melinda and I have seen this question come through a couple times regarding palliative care, and is it the same as hospice and considered a mortality as well? So we've taken this back to the surgeon leadership, and they concurred that this is, palliative care is to be collected the same as hospice and is considered a mortality. Melinda, do you have anything to add to that one?
No, just the only thing is this is pretty clearly outlined in the training manual, so you could reference that if you have additional questions.
Great, thank you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a chance to have Harvest 1 reports released on IQVIA on September 12th? That's the goal. Seems to be that IQVIA will get these reports out on September 11th or September 12th. That's the goal. And more information will come out if timelines get pushed back. Pat, it looks like you sent in a payment for AQO, but you haven't heard anything. If you'd like, if you wouldn't mind emailing Amy or Emily, I would say just to reach out to Emily and she can check into that for you. Sometimes it takes a little bit because we're all working remote and finance is going in a couple days a week and getting those checks. So it might take a couple days longer than normal for it to clear, but we are receiving them and finance is checking. Next question, can I submit cases before the risk model is completed? Yes, absolutely. Your vendor has been certified on version 4.20.2 regarding the data and software specifications. The risk model is a separate part, and that's more for site information versus a need for that to be completed before the cases can be submitted. So you can certainly go ahead and submit your data, even if the risk model is not yet implemented into your vendor software. I noticed the new training manual doesn't give any guidance to how many decimal places we use. For example, post-op creatinine used to take 1. Should we follow the same guidelines in the new version? So Emma, this information is not typically available in the training manual. I think we did for 2.81 and 2.9 because creatinine usually goes out to the hundredths place. For 4.20, we didn't include this information because it's available in the software specs, or I'm sorry, in the data specs. So let me show you where those are at. This is the registries, the STS National Database, Adult Cardiac, under Data Collection Resources. We're in version 4.20, and I'm going to scroll down here to the data specifications. This is where you'll find out what is allowed, what values can be entered, if they're real numbers or integers, and the decimal places we specified further in here. And let me see if I can quickly find the creatinine field for you. Unfortunately, I don't know. creatinine. So this is the last creatinine level before OR. And we go out to the hundredths here. So we have the usual ranges is 0.10 to 12, and then the low and high is 0.1 to 30.00. So that information, please use the data specs if you're looking for specific on what is allowed into a field. Somehow my questions got all screwed up. Let's see. Oh, let's see here. Do you have a few more minutes, Melinda?
Oh, yeah, I'm just sitting here answering FAQs in between this. So yeah, I'm good.
So Linda says, Carol, please clarify your statement. In previous webinars, you stated if discharged to hospice and alive at 30 days, we should submit the cases to the STS for further review, even if in hospice they may be alive at 30 days. And that's not what I said, Linda. What I said is that patients who are discharged to hospice are counted as a mortality. If for some reason that patient's status changes from hospice to no longer being in hospice and they're alive past the 30 days, you can certainly submit it for review to the STS and the surgeons will look at that. But if your patient that's for very specific cases, and that patient's status has to change outside of being in hospice. If your patients are discharged to hospice, no matter how many days alive after surgery and they're still in hospice, they're counted as a mortality. Anything to add to that, Melinda?
No.
Great, thank you. Next question, if we are capturing yes to mortality for hospice and palliative discharge, won't there be inconsistencies if we say alive at 30 days? What date do we use for mortality? So you would capture the date that the patient expired for mortality, and there will not be an inconsistency. And I'll show you, let me pull up the form. We worked with IQVIA and DCRI to make sure that we were capturing these patients. I don't believe you can get to the alive at 30 days if the patient is discharged, but let me just discharge to hospice, but let me verify. If you can.
I don't think you can. There's a little, yeah.
I think we did that with the programming to make sure you couldn't, but let me double check. So, status at 30 days, either discharged or in hospital, and you would just mark whatever that status is at 30 days. And then if the patient is discharged to hospice, you cannot get to any of these fields. So you can't get to the discharge location, any of their post-operative medications. You enter in the discharge date, the mortality date if the patient is discharged to hospice. That can be outside of the 30 days. And operative mortality will always be coded yes for hospice. If you inadvertently code this as no, we have programming to check the discharge location, or I'm sorry, to check where the patient was status at hospital discharge. And if there's a discrepancy between discharge to hospice and an operative mortality field, we will code it as an operative mortality. We will count that as an operative mortality. I think that covers that. Anything to add, Melinda?
Well, my question to you then, so this little line over here of status at hospital discharge is discharged alive, died after discharge or discharge to hospice, then you're going to go, okay, so you're going to do all that, then there's a check. Got it. Sorry, I was having a moment, a senior moment.
And that mortality date can be outside of the 30 days, of course. Right. And again, there's checks in place, I believe in the vendor software, but definitely in the algorithm at DCRI, that if there's a discrepancy in coding regarding discharge status being coded as hospice and operative mortality coded as no, we will count that as an operative mortality. Let's see. Oh, and then please repeat the re-rounding values. So you're not to round any values in the database. If you have questions, you can submit it to Melinda and we'll be happy to answer them to the FAQ mailbox.
I think the only thing that goes against that, and I noticed this the other day when I was doing my presentation for ECHO, is EF when we say the mean and you know it's 55 to 60, and that's really 57.5, but we always say go up to 58. So I think that's the only exception to that rule in the whole entire database.
Right, we code whole numbers, we code real numbers for the EF, so you would just take the mean of that as a whole number, and that's a little confusing, but for the EF, but I think we can educate on that too. Pat Hop says that she had a critical error due to decimal, so she rounded the number up. Is that now incorrect? That's always been incorrect, so we should never be rounding, except in the instance when Melinda talked about when there's a mean value provided for EFs. So no rounding in the database. And I think that's all the questions that I can answer. Okay, thanks a lot, Melinda, for staying on, and thanks, Leanne, for staying on. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we got some of those questions answered. We had over 100 something come in, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I apologize, everybody, for the delay. Thanks for staying on with us. I hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care.